The topic is about do we have consensus, and let me introduce the panel we have here today. On my left, Richard Johnson, Managing Director of Serco Welfare to Work. Next to him, Dr. Patrick Nolan, Chief Economist of Reform. Tim Nichols, Parliamentary and Policy Officer, Child Poverty Action Group. And Gabriel Doctor, Senior Policy Consultant, Centre for Social Justice. I'm going to ask you all folks to give me your perspective on where we are and what's the route. Richard, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Robert. I think I'll respond to a few things there that Jim said specifically. This, I don't believe, is about a government view versus a Labour view of some of the principles and the ideas that David Freud set out. I actually think this is about our view now of what the work programme could and should look like, and that there is a responsibility resting on the people in this room, within this industry, within the department associated with this industry, to ensure that we do find a mechanism now to tap into the resources that currently are excluded from us because they sit in the benefit budget, to tap into those resources in order to extend more assistance to more people currently trapped in long-term unemployment. And I categorically will deny that there is some sense of a finite number of job vacancies that are available there for people to access. And whilst I would never underestimate the difficulties that individuals and families are going to face as we go through the difficult years that are to come, it is imperative right now that we actually extend more of the sort of services that you deliver, more intensive assistance, because in stimulating the supply of active job-seeking labour, you will stimulate the demand for that labour, and those people will be able to access work, and through that access a sustainable, independent livelihood.
Thank you very much, Richard. Patrick.
Okay, well, I agreed with Jim Knight that we have to see these programs in context, and particularly what's going on at the moment. We are going to have a very tough few years ahead. The next 5 years, the focus really is just going to be on eliminating the deficit, and then the real work will begin, and then we'll have to start repaying the debt. Now, coming from a country where we went through this process of consolidation, I can tell you it's incredibly hard. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and unemployment is real. It's going to have a real impact on unemployment. We saw this earlier this week. The Office for Budget Responsibility put out new estimates saying that there's going to be 600,000 fewer public sector jobs. Now, the positive story in this is that they're hoping for 2 million private sector jobs to grow and to sort of more than compensate for this increase in unemployment. But that's not a given. And so this is why the work you do is incredibly important, because we do have to get these people who are going to lose jobs, or where these jobs are not going to be available anymore, we have to get them into new jobs, and we have to create new jobs in a way. And the other issue is, of course, we're going to do this when there's no money. As Liam Byrne kindly pointed out to the Coalition, there's no money left, and there isn't going to be any new money. What we have to do is we have to look at the welfare budget, which is going to be cut, and we have to say, where can we take resources from within the welfare budget? Some of the poorly targeted spending, such as the middle class benefits like the child benefit, the winter fuel allowance, and maybe take some of that money and provide it in different ways, or provide it to the sort of services you provide. We're going to have to start thinking about allocating within budgets rather than trying to increase budgets.
Thanks. And Tim, what do you think there about Patrick saying, how we handle the pain?
Well, I think that there has been some convergence over the last few years in the political realm on ideas about getting more people into work. I think that there's been a lot of convergence around tackling some of the benefit trap barriers, and there's been a lot of convergence as well about the idea that there has to be really high quality and personally tailored support out there. But as the others have been saying, we face this tremendous challenge now with the extent to which the jobs are going to be there and the extent to which the resources are going to be there. In Child Poverty Action Group, it's always a big concern for us, not just that you get people into a job, any job, but that is a sustained job that actually lifts a family above the poverty line. And I think that if we are going to make progress on this, we have to recognise that when you look at the problems we had from the 1980s and the growth in worklessness then and the transition of that across to the next generation, that the overall costs over time have been really tremendous, and it simply will not do to say the money is not there. We have to be thinking in the longer term about what the consequences and the costs are going to be. So I think there are many people in this room who are doing tremendous work, who know what really works in terms of the relationships that you build with claimants, the time that you spend understanding their problems. And you probably have the answers much more than we do, and you need the resources there to be able to deliver that. And you need the other areas holistically to be supporting around what you're doing. And we're going to see problems, I think, for you with some of the cuts we've seen in this budget on areas like housing support and other benefits support. So you need those resources. The people you work with need the income adequacy. And as well, I think you need mechanisms for delivering this that don't constrain you and allow all of you the autonomy that you need in your relationships with your clients, and also allow your clients autonomy over their progress to work as well.
Thanks. Gabriel, these resources are needed. Where are they going to come from?
I don't know where the money is going to be found. And I suppose there are very qualified people working on that at the moment, one hopes. I think what we've heard actually is that certainly on some aspects of the welfare reform there is consensus on the broad principles. Jim McKnight rightly pointed out that we wait to see how this actually works out in practice and how the system is rolled out. But the message that I've been hearing anyway this conference is that yes, there is agreement over that. I think the next step is to find out the details of the welfare reform side of the benefit reform side of welfare reform. Again, I think there's quite good consensus that the system as it currently works doesn't work too well, that there are big disincentives towards work in it, that it's overly complicated for claimants. That does seem to be consensual as well at the moment. The devil will be in the detail of the proposal that works out, and that the Centre for Social Justice has written a very large 370-page report on exactly how the reforms should work, and so we wait to see how that happens. But I think that there's a broader issue which is been touched on a little bit about, why is it that people are coming to you with a lack of skills, with a lack of education, and not ready to work? And clearly that's not something that you're responsible for, as people at Job Centres Plus or contractors. That's the problem you deal with. And I think what we really need overall consensus on is how to stop that happening in the first place, so that what's going wrong in certain schools, what's going wrong in families, that people are ending up at your doorstep not capable as they are of taking a job. And I hope that that's also an area which is certainly gaining some consensus over. Frank Field, as one, is very supportive of looking at some of the root causes of poverty. Graham Allen, MP for Nottingham, is extremely interested and has launched in Nottingham an early intervention city to look at some of the lifelong problems. Ian Duncan Smith, my former boss, is himself very interested in this, is hoping to chair a committee on social justice. And the intention is not to make that partisan, but to really just get a clear idea of what works and what works for most cost effectively. And these are sort of structural solutions that we have to find. I don't think any of them will tackle the immediate deficit, but hopefully they will help things in the future.